of problems about the duplication of activities and the need for us to rationalize the infrastructure of our energy sector. I believe that Boakye Agyarko is in a position to undertake that task and undertake it successfully. So he is the person that I am recommending to the Parliament for approval as energy sector. We're putting back petroleum and power. I think that the division of it, in my view, doesn't make much sense, to be able to consolidate it so that we can have one person at the top with all the various institutions and able to have a bird's eye view of the whole and be able to produce the efficiency and the development that we want. So, ladies and gentlemen, in the Parliament, Mr. Boakye Agyarko is the person we have. The next person on the list is a relatively young man who's had really a very spectacular career in Ghanaian politics. I remember the first time I saw him being, to some extent, a little bit astonished. I walked in, I was then, I believe, Attorney General, I believe. I'd come to the house early because I was going to answer questions. And I think, the very first person in the chamber sat there to look at my notes and prepare myself. Then I felt there was a presence of somebody else in the house. I turned around and I saw this, with respect, very biggish looking thing in the back, and then staring at me. So I went up to him and I asked him, "Who are you?" He said, "Oh, he's the new MP for Bimbilla." We just had a by-election in Bimbilla at the time, and that he was the new MP for Bimbilla. And he turned out to be Dominic Netiwo. We became very friendly from that time onwards. And I watched his career. He's proved to be a very strong figure in our party. He's been returned by the people of Bimbilla several times. It's a very serious involvement in the work of our parliament, where he became deputy minority leader until recently. And he has also been the chairperson of the Campaign Sector Committee on Defense. Has become somebody very conversant with the problems and the issues confronting our securities, the armed forces especially, of our country. I believe that he's going to be able to provide a fresh perspective on some of the problems that the armed forces have and be able to re-establish the balance within the armed forces and make sure that we have a modern armed forces in Ghana that is dealing with the problems of armed forces today, not necessarily responding to the armed forces issues of yesterday. It's an onerous responsibility. He's a relatively young man as ministers of defense go, but I believe that he has shown sufficient quality already in the House and in his public life to be able to undertake this very important assignment. It's for me a great deal of pleasure to be able to promote him and assist him in his upward career. He was always going to be on a very upward trajectory in Ghanaian politics, and I think that he's going to do a very good job as the Minister of Defense of our country, Mr. Dominic Netiwo. The Ministry of Interior, just like the Ministry of Defense, occupies a very important place in the governance structure of our country. It's the Ministry of Interior that is principally responsible for ensuring our domestic peace and security. We've always believed that to have a responsible leader of that ministry is so important to the development of our democracy. Because you're going to be leading, for instance, the police service and making sure that the police service walks this very careful balance between providing us with security, but providing security for us as a free and open society, not as a straight-jacketed authoritarian state, but as a democracy where people have the right to speak out, people have the right to agitate, people have the right to demonstrate freely, and that you need a police service that is sensitive to the rights and and the duties of citizens in a democracy, but at the same time have the strength and the discipline and the professionalism to provide the security. And I've always thought that it would be easier if you had a lawyer of quality at the head of it who understood security issues. So I've chosen as the Minister of Interior a well-known lawyer who has already had quite a distinguished career in public life. He was regional minister of the Upper West at President Kufuor's time. I believe that he's just the right man to provide the leadership for our Interior Ministry and give us that balanced response to issues of security and development that we want. So Mr. Ambrose Derry is the person who's being recalled. I was very lucky when I was a minister in President Kufuor's government. I had two deputies, one when I was Attorney General and another one when I was Foreign Minister. They were both women, which was for me a very pleasant experience because I was able to get the sensitivity that women bring to issues, and at the same time, strong minds and independent personalities. Ayokobuch, as well as Oseje, she was an efficient one. She has since broadened her horizons. She became a member of the ECOWAS Parliament. She's been several times a successful member of Parliament for Weja originally, and now for Anyaso Utuom. Has been very exposed to international relations and the nuances of what high-level diplomacy requires. I have every confidence that the one-time Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs is now ready to be a full Minister of Foreign Affairs, and that she will do a very good job as Ghana's new Foreign Minister. So I'm recommending her to you. I'm recommending her very strongly also to the Parliament as the next Foreign Minister of Ghana. Thank you. Again, I told you about two women. One who was the deputy to me as Attorney General. I think in some ways this is right. I mean, if I have been elevated from minister to president, the people who are my deputies should also be elevated to minister. I don't know. There's a certain symmetry there, which I think makes sense. The Attorney General's office is a very difficult place because you have to wear so many hats. You wear the hat of legal advisor to the government, wear the hat as the protector of certain institutions. It's a broad variety of institutions under the Ministry of Justice. You're also responsible for criminal prosecutions in the country, and you have to be able to balance all these various responsibilities carefully. The person that I'm recommending for the job of Attorney General is somebody who's very familiar with the issues there. It was there, it served me faithfully in the 2 years that I was Attorney General and since, and is a very well-known lawyer. She's very active in the Ghana Bar Association, has had a very successful practice. She then subsequently acted as minister in other areas, Deputy Regional Minister for Greater Accra, Minister for Aviation. And when she was acting as Deputy Attorney General, I believe she was the first female to act in that position in our history. A woman of very, very strong views, very decided convictions, and very strong ethical approach to issues of law and social responsibility. And I think that those are qualities that an Attorney General should have. And I believe strongly that she's going to make a very fine Attorney General for Ghana, and somebody who's very sensitive about issues of rights and responsibilities. And it is once again that balance that we seek in this country. A hard worker. I want a memorandum on this and this by 5 o'clock in the morning. By 5 o'clock in the morning, it is with you. And once this is done by X time, it is done. She never shirks any responsibility. It's a workhorse, but is very efficient in her output, and I believe that she's eminently suited to be a very progressive and an outstanding Attorney General, and that is Gloria. The next person on my list is another woman who's had already a very diverse, varied exposure in public life. She is somebody who's a symbol of so many things. A professional, female, a Muslim, in public life. And in all of it, has carried out important responsibilities already. She was Deputy Minister for Local Government. She was Deputy Minister for Trade under President Kufuor's time, and then became the second Minister for Women and Children's Affairs in President Kufuor's time. She's been in and out of Parliament. She won once for a constituency of Nalerugu Gambaga. Lost, but tenacious, never gave up. And she's back again as the Member of Parliament for Nalerugu. She, like me, her origins are deeply part of our tradition. Her father was a UP Member of Parliament for the northern region. I think it was called Upper Mamprusi. Is that right? Mamprusi, yeah. And Walwali, yeah. And now the daughter has come to inherit that position. She's going to be the Minister for Local Government at a time when we are about to undertake some important structural reforms in the way that local government in our country works. First of all, we want to introduce competitive politics into the selection of local government officials. And it's meaning that we've set ourselves the target of 2018 to do that, a year and a half time. And it means that important legislative and constitutional reforms are going to have to be made, and then a whole program put in place for this new development in Ghanaian governance. It's a central part of our agenda, because we believe that the process of not just so-called decentralization, but devolution of powers, whereby we can have people, their neighborhoods and their communities and their localities, being responsible for the fundamental decisions that affect their lives, is the way forward to building a strong and secure society. Need somebody to provide the leadership for this transitional period, who has that very broad view of things that comes from who she is, from the experiences that she's had. She's a lawyer to boot, and be able to bring it all together for the exercise that we have in mind. So I'm recommending to the House that Hajia Alima Mahama become the next local government minister for our country. I'm almost at the end, so members of the press, bear with me. I think all of us know that where we are and where we want to get to, there's nothing more important than the quality of the educational system that we have. We have made some important commitments to how we want to see the educational system in our country develop. One of them being, of course, the commitment to freeing up secondary education to everybody in this country, and for it to be the responsibility of the state to make sure that every young person in this country has access to quality secondary education. So that we want to make it free. We think it's an important developmental tool, as much as it is also an issue of social justice, that people in this country, no matter where they're born, no matter the circumstances of their birth or status, can have access to good schooling. It's important that we develop the human capital of our country. Believe that the policies that we have there will make it possible. But the educational establishment in Ghana is a complicated one. It's very heavy. It's lots of special interests and the rest. And I believe that we need a vigorous young leader, somebody who will, with respect, be able to hold his own in the discussions with the professionals of the educational system, will have the capacity to convince and persuade, and to provide leadership in this extremely crucial area of our social life. So I've chosen a young, relatively young leader for the Ministry of Education, who will be having his first experience as a minister. But in the House, he's already been an outstanding figure in the House, extremely articulate and vocal, man of very independent views. He has served on several committees of the House, ready to be able to acquaint himself with the issues in health, in the special budget, environment, science, technology, innovation. All of these are already areas that he's very familiar with. And I'm very sure that with the drive and the energy and the enthusiasm that he has for public issues, that he will be able to make sure that the commitment that we have made to ensuring that in this, our mandate that we have, the free secondary education becomes a reality for our nation. So the man I've chosen is a doctor. People would have thought that, well, as a doctor, perhaps he should go to health. But that's not my view. I think that there are other considerations should guide the choice of where a doctor should go. I believe that he has the makeup to be an outstanding Minister of Education, and that is Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh, Member of Parliament for Manhyia South, and everybody knows him as Napo. And the last but not the least is an outstanding, very articulate, very insightful, done a very good job recently as Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. He's a well-known economist and an accountant by training. I believe that for us to have a successful health delivery system, we need to come to grips once and for all with finding a sustainable financial base for the operation of our national health insurance scheme. The technical issues involved in what kind of health delivery should be provided, that argument is there. But if at the base we don't find that sustainable financial platform for the operation of the national health insurance scheme, it will continue to suffer the difficulties that it has over these last years. Long-standing arrears of settling bills for health providers, for being able to pay. I'll be able to assemble a government and get on with fulfilling the promises that I made to the Ghanaian people and being able to bring that relief and progress that they're looking for. I am not asking Parliament to do some botched up, patched up, quick business. No.
Under the Akufo administration, he held several portfolios: Minister of Finance, Minister of Education. So he gets to serve in the Nana Addo cabinet as senior minister. He's also going to be a member of the economic management team, which is going to be headed by the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. For the Minister Designate for National Security, we have Albert Kandapa. Albert Kandapa also served under the Akufo government as well, and he's been designated for the National Security Ministry. We also have Minister Designate for Trade and Industry, Alan Kojo Chamartin, and that's no news to you because the president, all the while, even when he was campaigning to become president, had stated categorically that Alan Chamartin was going to be his Minister for Trade and Industry. He earlier served as Trade and Industry Minister under the Akufo government. Also, for the Ministry of Finance, we have Ken Ofori-Atta. Ken Ofori-Atta, his name came up strongly after the party won power in the just ended elections. Ken Ofori-Atta, remember, was in charge of Data Bank. He resigned 3 years ago to focus on the campaign to have Nana Addo elected as president. He served as campaign, the fund. He was actually in charge of the fundraising committee of the Nana Addo campaign, and he gets to serve as finance minister. For the Minister Designate of Agriculture, we have Dr. Owusu Efiri-Akoto. He's been speaking, he's been a minority spokesperson on agriculture over the years in Parliament, and he's been designated for the Agric Ministry. For the Minister Designate for Energy, we have Boakye Ejiako. Remember him? He's been quite vocal on issues regarding energy and petroleum. He gets to serve as Minister of Energy in the Nana Addo government. For Minister of Defense, we have Dominic Nitiwul, the young man who's MP for Bimbilla. He's been given that task to serve as Defense Minister, Dominic Nitiwul. So he's been designated for the Defense Ministry. For Minister of Interior, we have Ambrose Derry. Ambrose Derry, remember, he also served under the Akufo government. Minister of Foreign Affairs, that's Shelley Ayoko-Botre. Shelley Ayoko-Botre gets to serve in the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Mind you, Shelley also worked with Nana Addo Akufo-Addo when he served as Foreign Affairs Minister under the Akufo government. And then for the position of Attorney General, we have Gloria Ekufu. Gloria Ekufu was quite pivotal. She played quite a pivotal role in the 2013 election petition. She was in court all throughout the case, and she also served in the Akufo government. She gets to serve as Minister, as Attorney General under the Akufo-Addo government. Also for Local Government Ministry, we have Hajia Alima Mahama. Hajia Alima Mahama, she gets to serve as local government minister. She's been designated for that position. And for Minister of Education, quite surprisingly for most of you, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, who's MP for Menchia South. He gets to serve as Education Minister. And then also for the Ministry of Health designates, we have Kweku Ajiman-Menu. He's going there as Health Minister. So 13 names so far have been submitted to the Speaker of Parliament, and as the President said, he wants it to be expeditiously dealt with and approved. We're hoping to get the other batch of ministerial appointments coming sometime soon. Mind you, the Constitution states that the majority of ministers must come from Parliament. And so that's in accordance or in adherence with the constitutional provisions. This has been our live update or coverage of that press conference from the Flagstaff House addressed by the President Akufo-Addo. Later on News in Brief, we'll bring you more on this, and also on News 360 at 7 o'clock, we'll bring you this plus many other stories making headlines throughout the country. We'll see you later.